A warm welcome to all of you on the other side of the screen. I am the Overly Positive Fanboy, and today's Overly Positive review is Disney Plus's new show, Ms. Marvel. Kamala Kahn is an ordinary teenage girl who is a serious Avengers fan, especially of Captain Marvel, so when she starts manifesting superpowers of her own, she's ecstatic, but those powers bring with them a connection to a much bigger world. Now, I think it's no exaggeration to say that I've been looking forward to this show for a good long time. Ms. Marvel is an incredibly popular character whose first issue was reprinted 7 times, a feat you only really see in, the mainstays. And of course, I happen to be a really big fan of the character. I mean, granted, the origin story here is the only one I've read so far, but that doesn't change how much of a fan of the character I am. Ms. Marvel is the main reason I care about the champions. Well, her and Miles Morales as well. Ms. Marvel is the only reason I paid any kind of attention to that Avengers video game from a couple years ago. So, naturally, the moment Marvel Studios announced this series, I was hooked. But did the show live up to my hype? The good news is, yes. Yes, it did. Marvel Studios' Ms. Marvel is a delight, and the biggest reason why is because of the cast. We all know that the MCU can sometimes take some liberties with the characterizations of their leads, but that is not happening here. This show's Kamala Kahn has been pulled straight from the comics. Her dorky love of superheroes, her creative side, her awkwardness, it's all here. While the writing is obviously the main reason for this, as well as the fact that Sana Amanat, Ms. Marvel's co-creator, is a producer on this show, a crucial component in that accuracy is our lead. Iman Vellani is such a perfect casting, it's unbelievable. And I'm not just saying that because of her choice of Halloween costume as a teenager. She looks like Kamala, she acts like Kamala both on and off set. It's as if Disney engineered her in a lab to be as close to a real-life Kamala Kahn as possible. It's almost uncanny. Of course, the rest of the cast are also good as well, embodying their characters to a degree similar to the way Iman embodies Kamala, and we get a lot of very likeable personalities in here. Honestly, hats off to the casting director here for creating an experience that feels like it was pulled straight from the comics. Of course, the cast isn't the only good thing about Ms. Marvel. This show looks great. That awkwardness with the VFX that people have been complaining about lately with Marvel is absent here for the most part, and there are some inspired directing choices in the first couple of episodes that stand apart from the typical MCU style, while also allowing us a glimpse into our main character's head. The way Ms. Marvel represents the Muslim American experience as well is also very noteworthy. Obviously, I'm not qualified to go into too much detail, but I can tell that this is a very authentic depiction of their culture and the different perspectives within it, to the point where I once saw someone saying that the Khans feel like stereotypes in a way that where the stereotypes have come from Muslims themselves, as opposed to an outsider's perspective on the culture, which ends up adding to the authenticity. The show is also just really fun. There's a wedding dance sequence here for crying out loud. How could you not smile when watching this? Granted, it's not perfect. The pacing problem I mentioned in my Moon Knight review is back in full force here, and it's possibly worse than it was in that show. Recall how I praised the cast earlier? Well, treasure them while you can, because they disappear for 2 entire episodes. The show takes a detour to bring Kamala over to Karachi, allowing her to explore the culture she's had little experience of despite her heritage, as well as delving into the partition of India and its effects on the people who were swept up in that geopolitical nightmare. It's all good stuff, and I like that it's here. But this show only has 6 episodes. The series probably should have been longer, either having more episodes or maybe just splitting up these 2 plots into 2 seasons. Spend season 1 on Kamala becoming a hero to her Jersey City community, then do the whole reconnecting with her heritage stuff in Season 2. It would help spread things around more, and it would fix the villains. Yeah, notice that I haven't mentioned them yet? That's because there really isn't much to say. They're a group of interdimensional beings who were exiled to Earth centuries ago and are trying to get back home, no matter what destruction would be caused by their actions. We've seen this sort of thing before already. They're introduced in the 3rd episode with their villainy depicted as a twist, and they're defeated in the 5th episode with a heel turn that does make sense, but doesn't fully land because we haven't spent enough time with them beforehand. Also, I'm not entirely sure how that portal was closed. She walks in and becomes a... Okay, I've put it off long enough. Let's discuss the thing. You know what I'm talking about. The controversy that's been hanging over this show since before the first trailer dropped. They changed Kamala's powers. Instead of the stretchy shape-shifting powers she has in the comics, the Kamala of the show has been gifted with energy powers by her grandmother's bangle, which basically turns her into Gwen Tennyson. It's a change we haven't quite gotten a good reason for yet, though people have been speculating. Regardless of the reason, it is a weird change that detracts from the otherwise incredibly accurate adaptation this show is. I do love the actual way the special effects depict her powers. It's like this pink crystal substance that looks beautiful whenever it's on screen. However, that beauty may be missing the wider point of the comic. Like most teen superheroes, Kamala's powers can be seen as a metaphor for puberty, a metaphor which is strengthened by how gross those powers can be. It's basically her body growing and changing in strange new ways, and isn't that just puberty in a nutshell? Plus, changing her powers also removes a crucial part of Kamala's development, where she subconsciously morphs into a copy of Carol Danvers. She gets to experience what it's like embodying Western beauty standards, and ultimately realizes that it's not for her, that she's better off as herself. It's good stuff, and the power change means that including this scene in the show would have been impossible. Oh well, at least she can use her crystal powers to stretch her arms a bit. That's a decent compromise, right? Right? In conclusion, despite its power change, pacing issues, and undercooked villains, Ms. Marvel is a pretty damn good adaptation of the beloved comic, and I would recommend it to Marvel fans, as well as those for whom the representation is well needed. Well, that was Ms. Marvel, and this was Overly Positive Reviews. Tune in next time as we learn all there is to learn about. Bye!